what if every single thought you have, no matter how small or how fleeting it is exactly like striking a massive bell in the middle of the universe?
Right. And the vibration from that strike, it just never disappears. It simply travels outward.
Yeah, it travels, it resonates, and it inevitably triggers a future reality. It echoes back.
It really does.
And just sitting with that image for a second, you really have to ask yourself whether that makes you feel incredibly empowered or if it, sends a slight chill down your spine.
Oh, I'd say both.
Because the implication is that you are quite literally the architect of everything you experience.
It brings up a profound sense of awe, I think. But combined with this sudden, very sharp need to monitor what is actually going on inside your own head. Like if every thought is a physical blueprint for your future, you really cannot afford to just let your mind wander into dark alleys unattended.
No, you can't. And that's exactly why today we are looking at an intensely practical guide to the underlying logic of our reality.
Right, focusing on the exact mechanics of how your mind constructs the world you see in front of you.
Exactly. So for today's deep dive, we are pulling from a really fascinating discourse produced by Buddhist Practice Incorporated, which is based out of Australia.
Yeah, and the core teachings here were delivered by consultant Benny.
Right, and this was prompted by questions from a seeker of Buddhist teachings named Venerable Ivy, and the structuring of this translated material was assisted by Notebook, A Room in the Dawn.
What stands out immediately in these teachings, to me at least, is that they don't treat the mind as some abstract philosophical concept.
No, not at all.
Right. They treat the mind as a mechanical engine, device with specific inputs and outputs that operates on unbreakable universal laws.
Which sets up the ultimate paradox we're going to unravel today.
Big question.
The big question, yeah. If our minds have this literal superpower to create reality, if we are all walking around with the ability to strike that cosmic bell and make things happen, why do we repeatedly trap ourselves in cycles of misery?
Well, the good news is we can actually trace the exact origin point of those cycles.
But to do that, we first have to understand the environment our thoughts are operating in.
Exactly. And consultant Benny uses a brilliant analogy from the natural world to explain this. It's about shouting into a mountain valley.
Okay, paint that picture for us.
So you yell into a deep canyon, and a second later, the echo bounces back. The shout is the cause, the intent. The echo is the effect, right? The manifested reality.
Sure, cause and effect. Makes sense.
But the text pivots here and asks the very specific question about physics. Like, why does the echo happen at all?
Oh, because the valley is completely empty.
Yes, it is spacious and formless. And this maps directly onto a foundational Buddhist concept about our own true nature and the nature of reality itself.
Which is that our fundamental baseline is formless.
Right. It is empty space, much like that mountain canyon. But emptiness, in this context, it doesn't mean just nothingness.
No, it means pure, unconditioned potential.
It's a highly conductive canvas.
I love that way of looking at it, a conductive canvas.
Yeah, so the moment you have a thought, any flicker of desire or anger or love, you are generating a wave of information and energy within that highly conductive empty space.
And because the space is completely free of obstruction, that wave has room to travel, to build momentum and eventually form into something tangible.
Exactly. But the material also introduces a really specific mechanism for how a formless wave actually crosses the threshold into solid physical reality.
Right, and it all comes down to the concept of density.
Density is the critical variable here. It dictates whether a thought remains a fleeting whisper or becomes a solid brick wall you crash into.
So, for example, if you just have one random passing thought about getting a cup of coffee.
That's a weak signal. The wave dissipates quickly.
Yeah. But if you repeat a thought, let's say you are just obsessing over a fear of losing your job or dwelling on some deep desire.
Then you are packing more and more energy into that exact same frequency.
Right. You are layering the waves on top of each other. And the text argues that when the energy density reaches a sort of mathematical tipping point, it is forced to cross over from the formless void into physical space.
The thought essentially gains so much mass that it collapses into a physical event.
Which brings us to one of the most striking images consultant Benny uses. It's wild. The toad sitting in the mud.
Oh yeah, the toad.
The text actually claims that with enough absolute focus, even a toad could achieve enlightenment.
I know, at first glance, using a toad seems almost comical.
It really does.
But it is isolating a profound, universal law about how density works. In Buddhist practice, when someone enters deep meditative states, when they achieve what's called samadhi, the power of their mind becomes incredibly concentrated.
Right. All the scattered random noise of everyday human anxiety just drops away.
Exactly. You stop transmitting on 1,000 different radio frequencies at once.
You tune all of your energy into a single laser-focused point.
And when your mind is that quiet and that concentrated, the speed at which your thought waves gain density accelerates exponentially.
So the toad example is basically stripping away human intellect to prove that this mechanism is universal.
Yes, it's about the sheer density of unbroken focus. If a consciousness, literally any consciousness, can hold a single point of focus without wavering, the speed at which thought becomes reality is magnified 1,000-fold.
Okay, so let's unpack this for a second. If I'm translating this into modern terms, this entire mechanism operates essentially like a cosmic 3D printer.
I like that analogy.
Right, like our thoughts and intentions are the digital code we type into the software.
Yeah, and the repetition, the emotional focus, and the energy we pour into those thoughts, that acts as the plastic filament feeding into the machine.
Exactly. We just keep feeding it, building up the density layer by layer, millimeter by millimeter, until finally the printer finishes the job.
And then the physical reality is sitting on the desk right in front of us.
But here's the thing. The universe functions as a completely neutral machine in this scenario.
Totally neutral. It is obligated to print whatever code you type in. It doesn't judge whether the code is good for you or bad for you. It just prints.
Okay, wait. If we really have access to a limitless, obedient 3D printer in our minds, the state of the world makes zero sense.
How so?
Well, I mean, why would anyone purposefully type in the code for heartbreak or chronic anxiety or failure? Like, if we are the architects, why is the building constantly catching on fire?
That is the million-dollar question.
No.
And the answer is because we do not realize we are holding the blueprint.
We don't even know we have the printer.
Right. And to explain this disconnect, consultant Benny uses this great metaphor of clouds drifting in an endless sky.
Okay.
Clouds have no internal engine. They cannot steer themselves. They are entirely at the mercy of the wind.
And the text identifies this wind as the winds of karma.
Yes.
Now, karma is one of those words that gets thrown around a lot, usually meaning some kind of, cosmic payback. How is it being used here as wind?
In this framework, karma simply refers to the momentum of your past actions and thoughts. It is the energetic weather system you've created over time.
So it's not a judge, it's just weather.
Exactly. So when those past actions generate a favorable wind and blow the cloud high up into a sunny atmosphere, meaning we experience a stroke of good fortune or we get a promotion at work, we suddenly get incredibly arrogant.
Oh, for sure. We look down and say, look how high I climbed through my own sheer brilliance.
Right. We take all the credit for the altitude, completely ignoring the wind that carried us there.
And then, inevitably, the energetic weather shifts.
The wind changes direction.
Yeah, and it blows the cloud down into a dark, freezing valley. We lose the job, or we get sick. And immediately, we complain bitterly.
We scream about how unfair the universe is and how we are just innocent victims of circumstance.
We bounce from arrogance to despair because we're completely out of control, just letting the wind blow us around.
Right. But if we have a 3D printer and we are letting the wind dictate what it prints, we must have willingly handed over the controls at some point.
So why would we surrender our power like that?
Well, we surrender the controls because we suffer from a severe, fundamental case of mistaken identity.
Mistaken identity.
Yeah. We look at the wrong things and claim them as ourself. And this brings up two crucial, highly technical terms from the teachings.
Right. Zhengbao and Yubao.
Let's break those down.
Yeah, let's start with Zhengbao. It translates to primary retribution. And this refers to your physical body, your baseline health, your genetic makeup, your looks, basically the meat suit you navigate the world in.
And Yibao translates to dependent retribution. This encompasses everything external that you rely on to sustain that body. Your wealth, your social status, your house, your professional reputation.
But why are they both labeled as retribution? I mean, that sounds like a punishment.
It's not a punishment. It is better understood as a repayment or consequence. They are the receipts for the karmic output you've generated in the past.
Oh, I see.
Your physical body is the primary direct receipt. Your environment and wealth are the secondary dependent receipts.
So these things are just the temporary outputs of past actions.
Exactly.
But we look at our physical bodies, our Zhengbao, and we look at our bank accounts and job titles, our Yubao, and we grip them as tightly as humanly possible.
We cling to them. We announce to the world, this is me. This is my entire identity.
And that clinging is the fatal error, isn't it?
It absolutely is. Because both your body and your possessions are, by their very nature, transient. They are entirely subject to the winds of karma.
Right, like a perfectly healthy body can be blown away by illness in a single afternoon.
And an impressive bank account can be decimated by a market crash just as fast.
So if we define our very existence by things that a stiff breeze can knock over, we are willingly making ourselves victors of the wind.
We abdicate the programmer's seat at the 3D printer and just let random weather patterns dictate our reality.
Wow. By clinging to the temporary, we blind ourselves to our inherent formless power to create.
That is the tragedy of it.
But if we are willingly handing over this remote control, something inside our own minds must be tricking us into doing it right. What is the actual mechanism of that self-sabotage? Like, what is happening inside our heads to keep us so confused?
To map out that internal sabotage, the text deconstructs our sensory system into what it calls the 6 roots.
The hardware and the software of our perception.
Yes, so the hardware would be the first 5 roots. Our physical senses of eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body.
And the text points out something incredibly important about these first 5 roots, which is that they are completely innocent.
They are just objective scouts out in the field collecting raw data.
Right. Your eyes detect a specific wavelength of light. Your ears register a fluctuation in air pressure. They do not judge the data. They just report back to headquarters. Here is a shape. Here is a sound.
The eyes don't tell you the shape is ugly. The ears don't tell you the sound is insulting.
So the true danger, the actual culprit behind all our misery, is the 6th root.
The intellect. The thinking mind.
Yes, and the text paints a picture of this 6th root that is hauntingly relatable. It functions like a deranged conspiracy theorist.
Or a completely unhinged fake news editor.
Exactly. An editor operating an illegal printing press inside your brain.
It takes raw, neutral data from the scouts and immediately spins it into a nightmare.
It's like, think about getting a text message from a friend that just says, okay, with a period at the end.
Right, classic example.
The visual scout, your eyes, report back. 4 letters, 1 punctuation mark. That data is totally neutral.
But the fake news editor takes that raw data, locks the door to the editing room, and hallucinates a massive paranoid narrative.
Right. They used a period. They are furious with me. Our friendship is over. I am going to die alone.
And it generates an immense, crushing amount of physiological stress entirely out of thin air.
Because the editor is addicted to drama.
Oh, completely addicted. And this dynamic leads to what is easily the most visceral, unforgettable metaphor provided by consultant Benny in this material.
You're talking about the cat feces metaphor.
Yes, the cat feces metaphor.
It's so gross, but so effective.
The text explains that other people's mistakes, their bad behavior, their verbal insults, these are just objective external facts existing in the world.
They're exactly like coming across a pile of dog or cat feces sitting on the sidewalk.
It's unpleasant to look at, certainly, but it's just sitting there on the concrete.
Yeah. If a normal, rational person sees feces on the sidewalk, they simply step around it and continue with their day. They don't engage with it.
But our deranged fake news editor doesn't just walk around it. Our mind bends down, picks up the toxic waste, brings it up to our face, smells it, puts it in our mouth, and actively tries to chew and digest it.
It is a grotesque image, but it captures the exact mechanics of rumination.
It really does. When you are lying awake at 2 a.m., tossing and turning because you are replaying a colleague's sarcastic remark from 3 years ago.
You might tell yourself you are processing your feelings or analyzing the situation.
But mechanically, you are literally letting your mind chew on old toxic cat feces. You are like a cow regurgitating cud, just endlessly chewing on garbage.
And we have to bring this back to the cosmic 3D printer. While you are in bed chewing on that toxic memory, you are generating an incredibly dense wave of negative emotion.
You are feeding that exact frequency of resentment and anger straight into your reality creation machine.
You are literally printing more toxic encounters for your future.
Exactly.
So we are trapped with the lunatic editor shoving garbage in our mouths, and we are printing out our own misery. How do we fire this editor? How do we mechanically force ourselves to start chewing the garbage?
The teachings provide a very specific solution for this. It introduces a classic phrase that functions as an instruction manual.
Which is, when sin and mind perish, both are empty. This is true repentance.
Yes, let's break down how that actually functions as a tool. It's described as a double-toothed key to freedom.
Meaning you need both teeth engaged simultaneously to unlock the door.
Exactly. Tooth number 1 is Zhuang, which translates to sin perishes.
Now, in this context, sin is not about carrying a heavy burden of Western guilt, right?
No, not at all. It refers to the accumulated garbage in your mind. Sin perishes means making a ruthless, conscious decision to clean out the warehouse.
You recognize that the grudges and resentments you are holding are literally waste material, and you firmly resolve to stop consuming them. Well, that sounds incredibly logical.
It is logical.
But realistically, when someone cuts me off in traffic or aggressively insults me, my heart rate spikes and the anger is there before I even consciously process the event.
The fake news editor shoves the garbage down your throat automatically.
Exactly. I can resolve all I want, but the biological and mental reaction feels involuntary. So how do you mechanically stop a process that feels automatic?
That is precisely why the first tooth is completely useless without the second tooth. Shin mi, which translates to mind perishes.
Okay, now, mind perishes sounds remarkably like a lobotomy.
It does sound intense.
If my mind perishes, how do I go to work, pay my taxes, and function in society?
It does sound extreme, but it doesn't mean becoming a vegetative zombie who thinks of nothing. Mind perishes specifically refers to cutting the power supply to the fake news editor.
It is the mechanism of profound disconnection from the narrative.
Yes. So how does that disconnection operate in real time? Say when that wave of anger hits in traffic.
Right.
When the event happens and the brain automatically starts playing the angry tape, you do not try to violently suppress the thought.
Because suppression is an action.
Exactly. It requires energy. If you fight the thought, you are just feeding it more density.
You're wrestling with the editor, which means you're still in the editing room.
You're still giving it your attention. But crucially, you also do not feed the thought a story.
You don't add the 99% fake news narrative about how the other driver is a terrible person who disrespected you purposefully.
Right. You step back and simply act as a silent observer.
So you watch the editor screaming, holding up the sensational headline, but you refuse to buy the newspaper.
That's a great way to put it. You observe the anger as an external object. Ah, my chest is tight. There's a memory of an insult. There's a spike of frustration.
You just watch it pass through the empty valley of your consciousness.
Because you are not fueling the thought with your belief, and because you are not adding a narrative to sustain it, the thought fire simply starves to death. It burns out on its own.
It's like you are pulling the plug out of the wall on the 3D printer. You stop feeding it the filament of your emotional engagement, so the machine just powers down mid-print.
And when you clean out the past garbage, when sin perishes, and you unplug the current narrative maker when mind perishes, both become empty.
You return to that original, unconditioned empty valley.
And that return to emptiness is the definition of true repentance. It is a total factory reset of your reality machine.
Wow. Okay, let's follow this logic to its conclusion. Let's say I've used the double-toothed key.
Okay?
I'm observing my thoughts without engaging. My mind is a clean, quiet valley, and the fake news editor is unemployed. I have completely reset the machine. Am I safe now?
Well, you are in a state of immense potential, but you are actually in terrible danger if you stop there.
Really? Why?
The text introduces its final and perhaps most vital logical loop here. Achieving a perfectly clean, quiet mind is just like having perfect 20/20 eyesight.
Having 20/20 vision sounds like the ultimate goal.
It is a massive achievement. But if you have perfect 20/20 eyesight and you have absolutely no destination you are trying to reach, you are basically just walking with your eyes wide open in pitch black darkness.
Okay, that makes sense. It reminds me of a car analogy.
Let's hear it.
Doing the work of true repentance is like taking a Ferrari into the shop and doing a complete engine rebuild. You clean out years of carbon buildup, you swap out the old oil, and you fill the tank with the highest octane racing fuel on the market.
The engine is purring.
Exactly. But then you take this incredibly powerful, sensitive machine out onto a winding cliffside mountain road at midnight. You have no headlights, and you have no GPS.
Yes. The cleaner your mind is, the more efficiently your 3D printer works. So if you have no direction, the more power you have in that engine, the deadlier the crash is going to be when you hit the first unexpected turn.
You are just blindly rocketing forward, liable to print a new disaster with remarkable speed.
This is exactly why the material places such heavy emphasis on the absolute necessity of a vow. The vow is your headlights.
It is the GPS programming for the Ferrari.
A vow provides an unwavering direction for your life and your mental practice.
In a Buddhist context, it might be aiming to be reborn in a pure land, right? Or it might be a lifelong commitment to achieve profound inner peace for the benefit of all living beings.
Yes, and the specific content of the vow matters less than its function. It provides a beam of light that cuts through the darkness. It tells your newly tuned-up mind exactly which way to steer the energy.
But, I'm putting myself in the shoes of someone listening to this on their morning commute. Setting a massive, lifelong vow to achieve total enlightenment or universal inner peace sounds like a very long, very exhausting trek up a steep mountain.
It can sound daunting.
Is the idea that we just have to grit our teeth, endure the empty darkness, and suffer until we eventually maybe reach the destination decades from now?
No, absolutely not. And this is where consultant Benny's teachings offer a beautifully practical shortcut.
A shortcut.
You do not have to wait for the destination to experience the joy of it. The text calls this shortcut becoming a knower of grace.
A knower of grace. Cultivating a profound state of gratitude.
Yes, we often think of gratitude as just a polite social convention, saying thank you when someone holds a door.
Right.
But mechanically, in the context of the empty valley and the reality printer, gratitude is an act of creation come.
So how does gratitude act as a shortcut on a dark road?
Well, if your mind is aggressively focused on gratitude, if you are actively acknowledging the goodwill around you, the support you've received, the very fact that your lungs are drawing breath.
You are intentionally generating a highly specific, dense frequency of positive code.
You are feeding joyful filament into the 3D printer.
Oh, wow. And because we established that the universe's printer operates immediately, you do not have to wait 10 years to reach your vow's destination to feel peace.
Exactly. The joyful, peaceful reality prints out immediately in your current state of mind. When you're genuinely, completely engaged in gratitude, suffering cannot physically coexist in that same mental space.
It is an instant override code for the fake news editor.
It really is.
The vow gives you the long-term direction, preventing you from crashing the Ferrari, but the gratitude makes the actual journey joyful right now, in this exact moment.
I actually want to speak directly to you, the listener, for a moment.
Okay.
The next time you find yourself wide awake at 2 a.m., tossing and turning, obsessively replaying a past insult, or spiraling over a future anxiety, catch yourself, pause, and ask yourself, why am I choosing to chew on this garbage right now? Do not fight the thought, because fighting is just chewing harder. Just observe it. Recognize it as waste material and cut its fuel. Pull the plug on the machine.
Such powerful advice. And as we wrap up this exploration into the architecture of the mind, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over on your own time.
Right.
Throughout this entire discussion, we've focused almost exclusively on how your individual mind acts as a 3D printer, echoing out to create your personal reality. But what happens to the fabric of our collective reality when millions or even billions of people's individual 3D printers are hooked up to the exact same negative, outrage-driven news cycle on social media?
That is a terrifying thought.
If every single thought strikes a bell in the universe, what kind of deafening chord are we striking? And what kind of world are we inadvertently printing together?
It forces us to realize that the state of our mind is not just a personal matter. It is a global responsibility.
It truly is. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. We warmly invite you to join us for our next exploration. Until then, mind your printer.